Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, where we chat with industry leaders and get their take on the challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way.
On this week's episode of the Marketing Stir, Vincent is joined by Erik Petersen, Executive Director of Global Brand Advertising and Media at Workday, to discuss marketing to elusive targets, adapting campaigns to foreign audiences, and has some advice for new graduates.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I am your happy host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista. If you are watching us on YouTube, which who knows if you do, right? It's a business podcast. A lot of people listen to us via audio. I'm happy to be here. I've got a pocket square on. I've got my sport coat on. It's one of those days. We've got a great guest, so you know I had to dress up a little extra. Now all the guests who come on have been like expecting it. No, I also have a meeting tonight for the Marketing Club of New York, the great nonprofit that I am part of. So it fits because the guest is a special guest because it's also in my world, the B2B world. I love talking to my consumer guests, of course, but this is B2B, one of my favorites. I literally have it in my title. That is how excited I am. But let's pause for a moment. Let's talk about Stirista, who we are. Just that's it. That's the only little bit we talk about. We are a marketing technology company. We own our own business-to-business data, business-to-consumer data. And through our own technology, we help companies access that data, get new customers through email, display, connected TV. Email me, Vincent@Stirista.com. And boy, are you using that email address. Is it always for what I intend? It is not, but that's okay. You are listening. You know who else is listening? Hopefully my CEO, AJ Gupta, my partner in crime here on the podcast. He could not make this episode. And I sure remind him, and I bug him because when he misses one. And he's deeply saddened when he does, but I still, of course, I kind of, give him a little twist and make him feel guilty. But we miss him, our commander-in-chief here at Stirista, Mr. AJ Gupta. But the show must go on because we've got a great one. Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking today with Workday. Have you heard of him? A lot of you have. If not, we're going to talk more about it. I'm very intrigued. I love this title and this person. He's great. I feel like I've known him forever, but we haven't even met in person yet. Executive Director, Global Brand Advertising and Media. Ladies and gentlemen, Erik Petersen. Erik, what's going on?
Hey, Vincent. So happy to be here with you and the team from Stirista. Looking forward to chatting with you about our brand. It's been an amazing journey. We are over 20 years old now and part of the Fortune 500. We actually count 65% of the Fortune 500 as customers of ours. I've been managing the advertising and the media. We are a global company and we advertise across 7 countries.
Wow. That's amazing. And Erik, let's get right into it. Talk to us about Workday and then some of your day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to explain what we do, very simple terms, right? We help our customers to manage their people, money, and AI agents. So we are a platform and just recently announced we acquired a company called Sana. So this gives us the ability really to deploy super intelligence for work, right? What does that mean? It means that a lot of the tasks that were, previously very manual now can be automated with AI agents. So when you're requesting PTO or you want to submit your expenses. These are some of the simple things that we do. We also, enable much more complex tasks as well. But yeah, we have fantastic customers all over the world. Companies like McLaren Racing, companies like Club Med, companies you've heard of like Puma. So yeah, incredible customers all over the world. And so my role as executive director of the advertising and media is to ensure that we're getting our messaging out there in our 7 countries that we advertise in, right? So the US, Canada, UK, France, and Germany, Australia, and Japan. And we advertise across every channel of paid media that you can imagine. Everything from broadcast TV to paid social to digital, online video, out of home, you name it. Some countries we still use print. We've got a lot of new messaging that just was shared yesterday in a press release after our acquisition of Sana and the ability to bring that super intelligence for work to our customers.
That's amazing. That's big news. Thank you for sharing it here on the podcast, Erik. I want to talk about, you said, TV. I remember Workday having this awesome Super Bowl commercial, right? And I think I would love you to talk about that. And I also think you guys were kind of ahead of the curve bringing that B2B flavor to something like that. I think a lot of people are trying to do that now in that CTV world, but talk to us about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was really exciting. That was, I guess, geez, about 4 years ago now. And yeah, it was exciting. Our co-founder and CEO, Anil Bushri, had challenged us. He said, hey, look, if you guys can work with the agency and come up with something amazing, we'll do it. We'll run it on the Super Bowl. And we did. We partnered with our agency, Ogilvy, that we work with, and they came up with this brilliant idea. It was in a slightly different form. Initially, it was a bit of a somber PSA, so it was very much a parody of a classic PSA where, these rock stars were really kind of sad and really kind of lamenting that people in the office were calling each other rock stars. And we thought it was just hilarious. Of course, it's a cliche we're all familiar with, right? Somebody does a good job in the workplace, you call them a rock star. And so what they did was, though, they went further and said, well, how would actual rock stars feel about that? Which is very, very funny idea, right? And it took what, again, is a very complex business and very, distilled it down to a very simple thought, which is perfect, right? When you're talking to 124 million people, they're in the middle of eating their guacamole and snacking and drinking their light beer and chatting. So here was something that could break through and capture their attention. And you're right, Vincent. Instead of B2B, we always think about it as B2H, right? Business to human, because
Yeah.
these businesses that we're talking to are run by humans, and humans are run on emotion, right? So, we used to think about B2B as being so rational. Oh, well, we're talking to business people. We've got to rationalize them into the decision. Well, you know what? Humans still are motivated by their heart, right? Yes, they use their
Yeah.
brain, but their heart is what motivates them. We know that it's true whether you're selling, luxury products like a high-end automobile, or whether you're selling, a platform for managing your people and money. So yes, we went on the Super Bowl, and we bought a 30-second spot on the Super Bowl and then produced an ad that was amazing at 60 seconds. So our co-founder and CEO doubled down. He said, all right, we'll run the 60. And yeah, we went out and got some of the most well-known rock stars in the world, including Ozzy Osbourne, Paul Stanley from Kiss, Joan Jett, Billy Idol. These are legends, right? And if you think about our audience, right, we're talking to the C-suite. They're the ones that are going to be part of the decision committee, right? And we're talking to their influencers, the SVPs and senior executives. Who did they grow up with? They grew up with classic rock. They grew up with those musicians. These people today are probably, in their late 30s, 40s, and 50s. That is the music that really struck a chord with them. It hits the nostalgia button in them and really motivates them and gets them excited, engaged, and critically, they remember you, right? Because brand salience is so critical, Vincent, right? Our audience, 95% of them are not actively in the market for our product, right? 5% are. So when the time comes for an RFP, we want to be one of the 3 brands that are top of mind for them, that brand salient.
Yeah. No, and if you guys are watching this on YouTube, you'll see me smiling the whole time that Erik's talking, because I remember that campaign and I remember chatting to you about it, Erik, because yeah, it was like the rock star. That was like a master class. It's like something that you remember to this day. I love that word too, B to H, B to human, because me being in the B2B world, you're right. Yes, you're marketing to at the company name of that person in a lot of ways in email, but that at the end of the day, these are people. They're humans. It's so funny, like when I'm on a call with a new prospect or someone talking about B2B, people are often like, why are you talking to them like you've known them forever? I'm like, because we're humans. We're humans. Yes, we're selling and we're talking and we're trying, but that's what it comes down to. No, that was that to date, remains one of the coolest commercials ever. But like how when you're in that meeting, Eric, you're kind of talking about, all right, well, how do you try to be bold and loud and memorable, but you're also selling a high stakes platform that
Yeah, no,
requires C-suite and IT buy-in.
yeah, no, absolutely. The way I think about it is, look, if we're talking to somebody and talking to an audience that maybe doesn't really know us, is vaguely aware of us, I think about it like a cocktail party. You're going to run up to somebody and say, "Hey, do you want to buy my enterprise software?" No,
Yeah,
no,
they're like,
you're
who,
not
they're
going
like,
to.
who brought this guy? Yeah.
No, dude, first you'd walk up to them, you'd introduce yourself, maybe you'd make a joke to make them smile, right? You get to know them, of course you would. So it's the same thing here, right? We want to cultivate a relationship with our audience. You're not going to run up to them, "Hey, you want to buy some enterprise software?" No,
Mhm.
no, it's a great way to turn somebody off. No, of course not. You got to cultivate a relationship. You want them to like you. Of course you do. Who do you do business with? You do business with companies and people that you like, right? And so we want to cultivate that relationship with them. So again, we're top of mind when it comes time for an RFP. They need some enterprise software, or they have an existing platform that's not serving their needs. They're going to have to tear it out. It's incredibly disruptive. They want to work with somebody that they like and trust.
Well, let's stay on that point, Eric, because this isn't an easy or small undertaking, right? It's kind of it's replacing a platform, an ERP platform, it's enterprise platform. It's massive, right? So
Yeah.
what are you doing to kind of reduce the friction?
Well, we have a ecosystem of partners that we work with. They help us with the implementation. They're trusted, right? They have credibility with our audience. We really want to ensure that, it goes as smoothly as possible because yeah, it's not easy, right? When you're tearing out an existing platform and implementing a new one. So we want to make sure they feel, that they're in good hands, trusted partners. We want to make sure that our audience feels that they know us, they like us, and we work with customers that they admire so that they can feel like they're in good hands.
Yeah, no, I like that. And then, look, Workday's become one of those trusted brands, right? They really have. Like it's become synonymous. So great work there. The media fragmentation, right? It's
Mm.
and also a lot of ways that C-suite, the IT, those are elusive, right? A lot of times, marketing to them without kind of giving away some of your secrets there. How do you, try to reach some of those
Yeah.
cohorts to
Yeah.
make those decisions? Is it kind of those influencers again, without giving, all these marketers listening the secret sauce, but would love to hear more.
No, you're absolutely right, Vincent. I mean, you really hit on something. I like that you use the term elusive. We're talking to C-suite and senior executives. These people are well compensated, they're extremely busy, and they're probably able to afford, streaming services, the, highest tiers. Many of them don't carry any ads at all or a very small ad load, right? They're online constantly. Maybe they even use ad blockers, right? So very, very challenging to reach. But there are some places to reach them, and it's no secret, right? The reason that the cost of advertising on sports has just risen into the stratosphere recently is because that is a place people want to watch it in real time, right? You don't want to the outcome of the game. You don't want to delay it. It's going to get spoiled for you. You want to watch it in real time. So advertising in sports, a great way to reach this audience. But our competitors know that too. It's not a secret, right? And then business news also, right? The Bloomberg's, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal. CNBC, again, great places to reach our audience. Again, our competitors know that too. This is not a big secret. So where else? Where else can we find them? What are their passions? What are their hobbies? Where are the places maybe where it's unexpected to show up? But we're working in advertising across just about every paid media channel that there is, right? Whether it's out of home in a densely populated part of a key metro where we can reach our audience, right? Or whether it's a place like LinkedIn. Again, it's no secret, right? A lot of businesses are on LinkedIn, But, are they going to use Billy Idol on LinkedIn, and build a profile for a rock star on LinkedIn and get somebody like Billy Idol to actually respond? We've done shout outs to customers from rock stars, whether it's Gwen Stefani or Billy Idol or somebody else, right? So again, ways to be unexpected. So even if we are in a channel where our competitors are, we can maybe use it in a different way that sticks with our audience.
It makes complete sense, and thanks for sharing that. I know that'll be helpful for a lot of people. Erik, I want to talk to you about. I love when we have people on who have a global role and kind of that marketing experience because I'm always fascinated how one markets to different regions. You mentioned you have 7 different markets. So, like, how do you keep the messaging consistent while accounting for different cultural shifts and how people work and view HR?
Yeah, you really hit on something that's important, Vincent, right? So I work with my colleagues across the globe. We have, Workday teams stationed in all of those countries. And, we work with them to implement the campaign. And in some cases, France and Germany, we go through a transcreation process. Can the Rockstar campaign work there? Yes, it can. Maybe it can in these channels, but not in these channels. Well, it can, but we're going to need to dub the voices for broadcast because that's what's expected, or maybe it can't work. And so we're going to look to message in a way that is consistent, that still, drives home our key message and our RTBs. And in Japan, boy, that is totally different, right? The language, the culture, the norms there are very different. There they talk about HR modernization, right? At this point in time, we're really focused on selling our human capital management solutions in Japan, right? So we want to talk about our platform for managing, HR and finance, but the key message is going to be around HR and about what we call HR modernization. If I'm going to back translate, is how they talk about it in Japanese. And of course, we're using, some of the same channels, right? Whether it's Meta, other ones like Yahoo or Line, and we're advertising on the Nikkei, right? So, some of the things are consistent and some we of course are adapting for the local audience and culture.
And Erik, I wanted to talk to you about how, because I remember we talked about this and I noticed this too about Workdays. Like, how do you maintain that challenger mentality, that scrappiness still when, Workday's a market leader, right? But I noticed that about you guys. Does that resonate with you?
It really does. Yeah, I've worked on a number of different challenger brands over the course of my career. Had a lot of fun with that work and with Workday. Yeah, we were born in the cloud, right? Right out of the gate. 20 plus years ago, we were taking on the on-prem solutions from Oracle and SAP, and this was a new idea then. It's 20 years later now, right? It's all about AI and having AI at the core of your solution, right? And so now what we're talking about is how can we help our audience to automate a lot of the tasks that previously were manual, and how we can do that better, how we work with other systems, other solutions, so that we're not just a walled garden, but we give you that flexibility, of course. And so it's really a great opportunity, I think, right now as a challenger brand to ensure that we're getting that message out, that we make our audience feel comfortable, but also that we're a solution that maybe, you know, are, we're not as archaic, right, as some
Mm.
of our competitors. Maybe we're a little bit more innovative, a little bit more cutting edge. We're going to anticipate and help future proof their business.
And I love that answer. And I wanted to draw from something you mentioned, your experience at companies, challenger brand companies, because Erik, you've worked high-end automotive. Are you talking microchips, enterprise software? Is there a common thread that kind of makes a customer switch their loyalty in any category?
Yeah, absolutely. I worked on the Audi brand for 6 years. It was a really great experience. I was working at an ad agency called Venables Bell and Partners, and we were partnering with Audi of America on their national campaign across the U.S. And at the time, they were number 8 in consideration amongst luxury car buyers, right? So absolutely the bottom. And in about 5 years, we took them from number 8 to number 1. So from, worst
Wow.
to first, as we like
Yeah.
to say. And yeah, it was when we started, they were embarrassed to say that they chose an Audi. If they bought an Audi, they would bring it home and their neighbors would say, so you didn't go with the Mercedes, you didn't buy the
Mm.
BMW, huh? Right? And they would make them feel embarrassed and inadequate, right? So how do we change that mentality? By being really aggressive. As the president of Audi said at the time, hey, we're going to walk up to him and punch him on the nose.
Mm. Yeah.
And we did. We were really aggressive out of the gate. We did a parody of The Godfather and the famous horsehead sequence. Right? We had a lot of fun. We parodied, at the time the Twilight films were very popular. We parodied
Mm.
vampires. And again, we were on the Super Bowl 6 years in a row when I was working on the business. And every year it was exciting and dramatic. We showed up in a big way. We put ourselves out there when it came to the inauguration of our first black president, Obama's inauguration. We were there. That was not a typical place for a car maker to run. And, we were like unafraid. We took on our competitors, we named them Germans. This was very antithetical to a German culture and philosophy. They would never name competitors in Germany because there they were a top tier brand, but not in America. We had to call our competitors. We had to be aggressive. We had to
Wow.
get attention and make our customers proud to want to show off their Audi.
Yeah. It's so funny to think that at some point people were embarrassed to have an Audi. That's like
Yeah.
so crazy. What a beautiful car. What a great automobile. So, Eric, let's get to know you a little bit. That's what we do on this podcast as well. Like you kind of said before, what if I met Eric at a cocktail hour at a conference, right? We're talking about a lot of things. We're talking about life. But one of our questions we ask all of our guests, and a lot of the answers are different, which, it surprises me. The LinkedIn question, the famous LinkedIn question that we have here is, with your title and your organization, you probably get reached out all the time on LinkedIn. What is a message that resonates with you that kind of gets your attention? And what's one that you're just like cannot stand?
Yeah, sure. I get pinged all the time on LinkedIn, and look, I love questions, of course, about the work, and I always tell people I like to talk to college students whenever I get the chance, and there's a lot of anxiety, of course, warranted. What's going to happen? Should I be pursuing a career in advertising or marketing? Is it all just going to be run by AI? And I tell them, look, is AI going to take my job, replace me? No, but somebody who knows how to manage and use AI tools will. So
Yeah.
become very versant in those tools. But yeah, no, I like getting hit up anytime by people who are curious about and show an interest in the work that we're doing at Workday, of course. And I always tell people, like, if you're going to reach out to somebody, look, show an interest in what they've done, learn about them, learn about their work. People always appreciate that. And if they don't respond, they don't respond. That's okay. Don't, Q-tip, right? Quit taking it personal.
Oh, I like that.
And
That's the
move
first use of Q-tip on the, I
and
love it.
and move on, right? So
Yeah.
if young people want to reach out, right, they're early in their career, trying to get a foothold, reach out to as many people as you can, show an interest in what they've done, and it'll probably result in something positive.
Mm. And one of the ones you hate is just not doing your research,
Yeah,
just trying
yeah,
to hit you with the pitch right off the
yeah,
bat.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've had people show up to interviews for a role, an open role, and I asked them, so what do you think of, the Workday advertising? Oh, I haven't watched it. Wow. Wow. At your
Yeah.
fingertips, you have access to probably 90% of the work we've ever done across virtually every
Yeah.
channel. You're interviewing for an advertising job, and you haven't taken the time to even look at the work that we've been doing. I mean, how is that possible?
Do your homework.
Do your homework. I mean, especially in this day and age where we have so many, assets just there at our fingertips. Please, yeah, take the time, do your homework, show an interest, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. I love the Q-tip reference. That's a first on here, Eric. And then you're right. I always tell, because a lot of the work, the board work I do with the marketing club, it's a nonprofit to help college students stay and pursue marketing
Yeah,
with 6 or 7 universities here in New York. And I tell the students, reach out to people. Don't be scared. Don't
yeah,
be shy.
yeah,
If you're going to reach out to a C-level executive and he or she doesn't respond, well, that's on them. But at least you tried. They're gonna really like the fact that you did that. So
yeah.
I'm glad you reiterated that. It's a
Yeah.
message I'll take to the event I'm going to tonight, matter of fact. So Eric, tell me about yourself. What do you like to do on the weekends?
Yeah.
You are West Coast. Were
Yeah.
you always West Coast? Tell us a little bit about
Mhm.
yourself.
Yeah, no, I was born and raised outside of Detroit. Longtime Detroit sports fan. I still retain my allegiances to all of my Detroit teams. Yeah, and passionate about live music. I absolutely love live music. I'm a big vinyl record collector as well. I love to listen to my albums when I'm home, and yeah, love to get out to shows. My next one is going to be a festival here called Outside Lands, and yeah, I love the band Geese, new and emerging band Geese.
Yeah.
They're a darling of the indie rock scene from Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, I like to do snowboarding whenever I can. It was not a great winter, unfortunately, this year, but I think Jake Burton from Burton Snowboards snowboarded well into his 70s. So
Wow.
I got a few more years ahead of me.
Yeah,
So
many more years ahead. Yeah, many more years. Yeah, the live music scene, I love live music. We're spoiled here in New York, just like you are in the
yeah.
the West Coast there. And that's
Brooklyn Steel, Vincent. Brooklyn Steel.
yeah,
Great
it's
venue.
yeah, it's great. I love the venues around here. And I miss the iconic venues like CBGB and
Yeah.
but I grew up in Portchester, New York, and now I live in Manhattan. But we have this great little venue, Capitol Theater, which is home to Grateful Dead used to be there, and Fish still goes and all that. That's great. No, I love that. I just started my vinyl record collection as
Nice.
well. I'm up to about 45, 50 of them. But my father-in-law, against his will, gave me some of these because my mother-in-law made them. And we're talking Beatles White Album,
Nice.
one of the originals. Yeah. So thank you to my
Nice.
mother
I held on to
mother-in-law.
most of my collection. I schlepped them from high school to college to
That's
the
awesome.
2 dozen apartments I lived in, and
Yeah.
managed to hold on to most of them.
That's awesome. Eric, a final thought for anyone, anything about, books you're reading, the business, yourself. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I love to read fiction. I read some nonfiction as well, but yeah, I still love to read. Yeah, I'm still a moviegoer. I love the Oscars this year. Paul Thomas Anderson getting his
Yeah,
due finally. The guy has
finally.
just an incredible catalog of work. I mean, spanning from Heart Eight and Magnolia and Boogie Nights and There
Yeah.
Will Be Blood, I think
Blood.
is really the Citizen Kane of our generation.
Yeah.
Just a masterwork. So one battle after another. He got his due. Fantastic. Love Sinners. It was killer as well. So yeah, no, we're living in a great time for entertainment. I'm not so up on some of the meh. Stuff that gets churned out by some of the streamers. They got to do a little better, right? I mean,
Mhm.
who wants to watch something mediocre? But no, there's still a lot of great work out there. And yeah, HBO Max, I think they're pumping out some great content still.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great. And yeah, sports. I mean, NCAA basketball tournament coming
Yep.
up is always exciting. It's a lot of fun and enjoyment. And yeah, NFL draft next month, Vincent. My
Yep.
Detroit Lions are we're coming
Yeah,
for you.
well, yeah, they lost a few people. I'm excited about the New York Giants. We got Harbaugh. We got like the best tight end in the game. We got one of the best tight ends, like young tight ends. We just got him. I'm excited. I am
Jackson
excited.
Dart.
Yeah, and I love Jackson Dart. My kids love Jackson Dart. He's like their Eli Manning to like what Eli was to me. And
And he's great name. Great
yeah,
name,
I
Jackson
I know.
Dart. Oh my God.
I wish I knew you, Eric, when I went to Detroit this past season for the Giants Detroit game because we went out there. That would be next time, when you come into New York. But yeah, shout out to the Oscars. I'm so happy for Paul Thomas Anderson, 15-time nominee. Before that, we had someone from Warner Brothers on, and she was talking about One Battle After Another. She's like, this movie is going to be amazing, and she was right. So this has been awesome. Erik, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It was just really fun. I do look forward to meeting you in person. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Erik Petersen, the Executive Director, Global Brand Advertising and Media at Workday. Check out Workday. That's been my friend Erik. AJ's not here. He's also my friend. We miss him. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. This has been another episode of The Marketing Stir. Thank you so much all for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista. Please like and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com.